Welcome back to another video. Today we are back for another week prediction video. Well, I guess not really prediction, review for NFL Week 3. We have the scores up here, but I already have a graphic that if you didn't see, I made for the previous video, which is a Week 3 prediction. So if you haven't seen that, you can go watch if you want. If not, then you go and look at the review and then catch Week 4 this week. But I'm going to pull up the graphic we made, go over our picks, talk about some of the games and where all the teams and some of the players stand. So we're just going to get right into it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys are new around here. I'm just 2 away from 100, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any videos. So for our picks last week, we did pretty well, and it's kind of funny because we went 9-7 again. So we are now 18-14 on the season because if you guys are new around here and you didn't know, we did miss week 1 due to other videos I was trying to get out, and I just didn't have time to upload it. So we didn't do our week 1 picks, unfortunately. But week 2 and week 3 down, and you can at least say we are consistent. That is 9-7 2 weeks in a row. But for the first game, so the Browns and Steelers, we got this. There's really not a whole lot to talk about here, I feel like. I mean, Steelers are really struggling on offense. I think a different quarterback would solve that personally, but that might just be me, although I feel like it's not just me. I think a lot of people are thinking that right now. George Pickens looks promising, though, so I think there is a bright future ahead for the Steelers. Bengals and Jets, I kind of talked about this in the last video, that it wasn't time to press the panic button for the Bengals yet at all. After the first 2 losses, it was obviously concerning, but if they were to lose this game, it'd be bad. In this game, they looked like the typical Bengals from last year, which is a good sign. Obviously, you know, people say, like, oh, it's the Jets, they're supposed to. And, like, yeah, they are supposed to, and they did, so that's a good sign. So they got the win there. Moving on to the Saints and Panthers game, it's the one time I don't pick the Panthers. They actually win. And I'm not even joking, it's the one time. They have the longest active losing streak in the NFL until this game. So I'm happy to see a win. I am very happy to be wrong about this game, and hopefully that gives me some hope for the Panthers later this season. Non-biased opinion, though, the Saints are an interesting team to look at because they have a lot of pieces, but I don't think Jameis is the answer. He just can't get them the ball consistently. He either plays really well or really bad. I mean, he had like 353 passing yards, but not a single passing touchdown, except for the very end. He did have a passing touchdown at the very end. But other than that, other than in garbage time, he didn't really have a passing touchdown. So it's weird he can pass for all that and then not get in the end zone. So I'm not sure if that's maybe just a red zone thing or a connection thing or what that is. But something with the Saints just isn't clicking. On to the next game, Rams and Cardinals. This went about how I expected it to. It was kind of close, kind of not. Pretty competitive for most of the game. The Rams came out on top, which is pretty much what I said in the prediction video, I believe, that I think it'd be competitive, but the Rams were going to win it. I think I also may have said, and if maybe I didn't, I'll say it now, but I wouldn't have been too surprised if the Cardinals had won that because they always play the Rams really, really well. So, I mean, obviously they didn't, and, you know, that's that. But not a whole lot to talk about that one. Rams get the win. This is when things start getting interesting then. We did miss this game. The Chiefs fell to the Colts, which I would not have picked that after the Colts getting shut out by the Jaguars, but that's just how the Colts play football, apparently. They're just really hit or miss. Not really sure what was up with the Chiefs this game. They didn't really look that great. Mahomes did not have one of his Mahomes games at all. And yeah, they lost. I don't really know what to make of it because I feel like if they were to play again, I want to say the Chiefs would win. I don't think the Colts could do that twice, but who knows? Maybe the Colts are starting to turn around. Maybe the Chiefs were just caught kind of in a bad game. The Colts were caught in a really good game. But yeah, that's that. We did miss that one. Ravens and Patriots. This is arguably one of the biggest games of this week. Definitely top 3, at least in my opinion, for what it kind of told us about each of these respective teams. Lamar Jackson has accounted for 12 touchdowns on the season and only 2 interceptions and has multiple over 100 rushing yard games with a touchdown as a quarterback, which is unbelievable. And I'm going to say right now, I came into this year, I was not high on Lamar Jackson. I thought he had gotten slowly worse statistically over the past 2 seasons, and he has absolutely proved me wrong. So I'm really happy to see that because he's an amazing player to watch, obviously. I think what it told us about the Patriots is that it might be a long season because they had glimpses of looking good, and they honestly could have won the game, but Mac Jones did throw that pick. And then speaking of Mac Jones, he obviously has apparently a very severe high ankle sprain. It may even require surgery. I mean, if he's out for a month and they can't beat the Ravens with Mac Jones, I don't know how many other teams are really going to be able to beat because I want to say the Patriots have like kind of like a middle of the road schedule. I don't think it's too easy, but I don't think it's too hard either. But they could very easily lose their next 5-6 games without Mac Jones. and find themselves 1-7, 1-8, and all of a sudden their season is pretty much over. So this was a big game, I think, for what it told us about both teams. Hopefully Matt can recover quickly. But I think, if anything, it told us that the Ravens are a serious threat in the AFC. And it also tells us just how good the Dolphins are, because the Dolphins came back 21 points in the fourth quarter to beat that Ravens team that has honestly looked really unstoppable in the games it's played so far. So it also tells us about that, but we're not to the Dolphins quite yet. Bears and Texans, this was kind of like my upset of the week. I had picked the Texans, and they once again had a chance to win it through a pick. Bears got in a field goal range and won the game. I don't know how many games I'm really going to take the Bears in the future, so I don't want to sound like a Justin Fields hater, because I'm really not, but I can't evaluate this team and him fairly when he's passing only like 14 times a game. It's just so weird. I don't know what team's going to show up or what he's going to do. So, I don't know. I don't really regret taking the Texans, because I feel like if I were to do it again, I still would think, that the Texans would probably, if I had longer time to look over the game, beforehand, I would still pick the Texans, I think, because the Texans have honestly looked pretty good in some of their losses, while the Bears, I feel like, have looked pretty bad in some of their wins. So, at the end of the day, they did win. I think they're 2-1 in the season now, which is pretty good. And on to the next one. Raiders and Titans. This, I think I said in the prediction video, was a coin toss for me. I really didn't know who to choose, and it was a very close game. I think the Titans won by 2 points in the end. And I don't know what's up with the Raiders. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if it's just a string of bad luck or if they're really just that bad. Because if you look at their games, they lost week 1 to the Chargers by not a lot. Week 2, they blew a 20-point lead to Kyler Murray. Yes, no, not the Cardinals. Kyler Murray by himself. They blew a 20-point lead to. And now they lose to the Texans by 2. So their losses have been close. But at the end of the day, if you're not winning, it doesn't matter. And if they're not winning, there's a problem. I'm not sure what that problem is exactly yet. But the Raiders need to turn around. They need to turn around quick. And now over to the biggest game of the week, at least in my opinion, for once again what it told us about both respective teams. So first off, the Dolphins won this. We got this one wrong. And you know what? I'm honestly happy to get this one wrong, because it shows the Dolphins are for real. I mean, Tua came back into that game, which is a little questionable. I think everybody's a little questionable as to how he got back into the game after not being able to stand up straight after a hit. But regardless, he came back in. He threw a touchdown, or maybe not a touchdown, but he definitely threw a deep pass to Waddle. I don't think he got in the end zone on that. But he got back in the second half, and he led him to win. And I think what it tells us about the Bills is Josh Allen is going to play well despite a loss. I mean, he had some bad throws. In fact, the touchdown to potentially win the game, he threw right in the dirt. He was skipping rocks. I mean, I personally had him in fantasy, and I needed a touchdown, which kind of annoyed me. I still ended up winning, so I'm not too mad about that, but watching that happen, I was really devastated for the Bills fans and my fantasy team. But I think it does tell us that if the Bills are going to lose, they're going to lose playing well. And at the very least, Josh Allen is going to lose playing well. But at the end of the day, if you're losing, that's not what you want. So really, I think overall, team-wise, not just Josh Allen, the Bills season, it might come down to the people they're missing on their defense. It really might just come down to injuries. I think a healthy Bills team is quite unstoppable. Losing Micah Hyde for the season is really rough. And obviously, they have other guys out as well. I think there's about 4 rookies starting on defense. Not to take away from the Dolphins win at all. Just, saying it how it is. So the Bills, they need to get guys back and healthy, or else that might honestly, unfortunately, become a bit of a common occurrence this year. For when they play a high-powered offense, it might be tough to stop them. The Dolphins, though, great win. Really shows how good they are, and they are a serious threat. I'm really excited to continue watching them this season. And they do play this Thursday night against the Bengals. So, again, if you want to see my prediction video on that, just wait till Thursday. It'll be out. But on to the next game, Vikings and Lions. Picked the Vikings. Vikings won. This wasn't too shocking to me. I think this went exactly how I thought it would. I think how a lot of people thought it would. It was high scoring. It was competitive. And at least in my opinion, I thought the Vikings would come out on top. Other people obviously thought the Lions would. But I think regardless, people thought it'd be pretty competitive, which it was. Justin Jefferson, still not really existent, though, after his first week, which I know is probably hurting a lot of people in fantasy football. I have him in one of my leagues, so, me as well. But the Lions, honestly, they're a good team. Even though they lost this, they are a very good team. I know Jeff Okudah played really well. It's cool that he's finally healthy again and playing well. He really locked down Jefferson whenever he was on coverage, in on him on coverage. So yeah, it was a good win for the Vikings. Not too surprising to me. Like I said, it went exactly how I thought it would. So but over to the Eagles and Washington. This was an interesting one because of how bad it was. I really thought Washington would play a bit better than what they did. But they really didn't. I mean, I know there was a time where the Eagles had like 300 passing yards and Washington had -1, which is, yeah, -1. It was a, loss of yards, which is really bad if you're at a point in the game where you have a negative amount of yards and the opponent you're playing has over 300. That is a problem. But I have to give credit to where credit is due, and that is Jalen Hurts, who is playing absolutely amazing. I have to brag about some things I get right. I hope the things I get wrong, but I have to own up to. I was a Jalen Hurts believer. I thought he was going to do well. I had big hopes for the Eagles this year with AJ Brown getting there, and they also made that last-second trade for the Saints corner. I can't remember what his name is. I think Gardner Johnson, who obviously was a great addition to the defense. So I think a lot of players are really coming into place right when they needed to. And the Eagles are a good team. They're going to be tough to stop. So that was a fun team to watch as well. Speaking of a fun team to watch, so the Jaguars and Chargers. I picked the Chargers. I said in my video, my last video about this, that I picked this assuming Justin Herbert was playing. And so even though Justin Herbert was playing does not mean he'd be full health, full go, typical Justin Herbert. But I did not think it was going to be 38-10 Jacksonville. That is crazy to me. I did think Trevor Lawrence would do really well without Urban Meyer sabotaging him and the entire Jaguars organization. So it is good to see the Jacksonville team doing well. This was surprising to me. I'm not trying to hate on Jacksonville, but if you would have told me that they would have won by this much after the Chiefs and Chargers game that Thursday night, I would not have believed you at all. I literally would not have believed you. So this is very impressive to me, whether Hurt was 100% or not. Putting up 38 points on that Chargers defense, even though Joe Bosa did get hurt, is very, very impressive, especially for Trevor Lawrence coming off the season he had last year. So very promising from them. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy, obviously for all teams, but especially the Jaguars with so many young guys they have. So, yeah, that was really surprising. I'm definitely going to take the Jaguars in future games. And then as for the Packers and Buccaneers, this game was very boring in my opinion. There really was not a lot of excitement for me. It did come down to the end, which, was exciting. But I think other than that final quarter, the game was very slow paced. And, it also, once again, it kind of went how I thought it would. It's usually how it goes when Aaron Rodgers and Brady play each other. It's always a good game, whether it's high scoring or low scoring. I picked the Packers to win this just because Brady had no one to throw the ball to. And I think when it comes down to it, that was one of the bigger problems this game. So, pick the Packers. That's how it went. Not really too surprised there. Once again, I did pick the Falcons to beat the Seahawks, which did happen. And, again, I just felt like the Seahawks, after that first week, that was probably, like, the best they would look, in my opinion. I don't think the Seahawks are that good at all. I think that beating Russ that week was them playing their very best. And I don't think they can play at that level every single week. I think the Falcons, as much as I don't like the Falcons, being a Panthers fan, they, I think, are a little bit better than their record shows. Not that they're really good, but they are a little bit better than being a 1-2 team. Now they're starting to incorporate Kyle Pitts again. For whatever reason, they stopped doing that, which I can't even comprehend as to why they would do that. But regardless, they're giving Kyle Pitts the ball again, and look at that, you get a win. But other than that, Drake London obviously kind of coming alive. He's been very good for him. I think he'll probably end up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. But the Falcons, honestly, they're not going to be great. They're not going to make it to the playoffs. But they're going to upset some teams this year. I really do think that. They almost upset the Rams. So I think at least one game this year they'll beat someone that nobody expects. But as for this game, I kind of expect how this would go. So we got that one too. And then on to the most boring game of all time, the 49ers and Broncos. And I'm not joking. This was the most boring game of all time. It was literally a punt battle. The punters just kept punting the ball back and forth. I think combined, they had probably 17 punts, I want to say. Maybe 18. It was absolutely ridiculous. Garoppolo walked out the back of the end zone, becoming basically like the second only quarterback to ever do that. Other than Dan, I can't remember what his last name is, on the Lions that used to play. So there's a lot to unpack in that game. One of the major takeaways is the Broncos, even if they win, they don't win playing well. I mean, and I don't want to hate, but they beat the Texans, not really playing that well. And they beat the 49ers, once again, not really playing that well. But what I will say is if you're able to win games not playing well, that is a good sign for when you do play well. You should really be putting up 30 points on some of these teams. So Yeah, they won. I think it is a little, just a little bit concerning with how slow the offense looks at times, and even the clock management. But I think over time it may get better. Hopefully they can turn around, sooner than later, because I don't think they're going to squeak out those type of wins the entire season. And as for the 49ers, Garoppolo being back, at least in my opinion, really doesn't matter a whole lot, because I don't think the difference between Garoppolo and Lance is that big for different reasons. I think both quarterbacks have issues to where, yeah, Lance might have some pros over Garoppolo, but Garoppolo has some pros over Lance. But the cons kind of equal out to them both being like the same level of inconsistent, if that makes sense. I think this game showed that yeah, Garoppolo's back. Yeah, even George Kittle was back. But they didn't look amazing. Although, last year they had Garoppolo, that's how they looked sometimes. So I think they're just going to be a really inconsistent team until they get a consistent quarterback. And if you maybe disagree with that, that's fine. But I would encourage you to watch the play where Deebo Samuel got wide open on a 4th down and Garoppolo did not even look his direction. Not saying it supports my entire point, but it definitely shows some of the flaws and how they can be better with a better quarterback and better vision. Some of those slow times on offense might go away if they get a better quarterback. And then finally, the Cowboys and Giants. This is actually a pretty exciting game in my opinion. Unfortunately, Sterling Sharp did tear his ACL in this game, so he's out for the entire year. Or did I say Sterling Sharp? Sterling Shepard, sorry. For the Giants, he's out for the entire season, unfortunately. But the Cowboys did come on top. I think CeeDee Lamb is the difference maker. I mean, you saw the entire game. It was very competitive. CeeDee came alive, and I think he got the ball almost every single play that drive where they scored the touchdown. So if he is incorporated, they will succeed. Cooper Rush is honestly doing a great job filling in for Dak. It's going to be interesting whenever Dak comes back and seeing the difference between the team, because I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but it's going to speak for itself if when Dak comes back, they're not winning games. So hopefully they continue to win games and everything. Obviously, that is the hope that they can continue to win for every team, to state the obvious. But the Giants, Saquon Barkley is back, and look what he can do. I mean, when he's on, he's on. He's just unstoppable. Yes, they lost, but honestly, they played pretty well against the Cowboys. I mean, I don't think the expectations for the Giants this year are that great. So them just being able to win games and keep Saquon healthy and have him have a good year is really a success in my eyes. I'm not really sure how Giants fans see it. I'm sure you guys want to see Kayvon Thibodeau involved more than what he was to really call it a successful season, and probably Evan Neal to block better as well. But other than that, I think if you have the pieces you need and you want to build around, if those pieces individually play well, then that's a good sign, because in the future you can surround those pieces with what you need, and that's what really matters. So yes, the Giants did lose this game, but I think it still at least looked good for them looking into the future. Cowboys, they're gonna be inconsistent in my opinion. They're gonna be good sometimes. It's really gonna depend on the defense. I think the defense is really gonna be the strength of that team. Trayvon Diggs looks like he's actually taken a leap as far as being consistent and not trying to jump a bunch of passes to rack up interceptions, where he's actually just playing good coverage and locking down players, which is really what they needed. And Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons. I don't think I need to talk about him. I think everybody knows how good Micah Parsons is. So that does conclude week 3. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys did enjoy the video. If you want to see my future prediction videos, obviously make sure you subscribe for that as well. The prediction videos come out every Thursday, and the reviews come out every Tuesday. And then I'll have some Madden content sprinkled in, and probably some more individual NFL videos as well sprinkled in once the season gets going. There's more talking points. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.